untitled.com, and today we're going to install a full M4 exhaust system on our 2015 Team M4 SportBikeTrackGear.com GSX-R600 project bike giveaway. M4 is definitely one of our go-to exhaust brands. Made here in the US, high quality stuff. It's run by Geico Suzuki, right? Team Hammer. Great quality, affordable price, tons of performance. Carbon canister is what we opted for. This system comes with a couple of unique features. You've got a carbon strap. They supply included in it a race mount. If you want to get rid of the stock passenger pegs, they give you a race mount bracket. You can hang on there and eliminate that if you're not going to take a passenger. The other thing it comes with is the exhaust servo, right? This exhaust system has an exhaust flapper valve and a servo-driven valve. It comes with a part to help you eliminate that so you don't have to buy anything additional, and it'll turn off that FI light after you're done with your install. This is a pretty big project. To open up, the first thing we're going to have to do is remove the lower fairings, both right and left sides, so we can gain access to the system. We may even need to loosen the radiator and kind of move it forward. We're going to do that part for you in fast motion. Okay, pull the fairings off. Really not that difficult on the Suzuki, right? You've got some fasteners, 4mm, 5mm. You can see those clearly on the sides of the fairing. Got a little push pin down here. You've got two push pins up here on the top on each side, right? You have this inner fender that you need to loosen up so you're able to pull the side panel off. So, end of the day, that part is pretty easy. Now we need to begin removing the full system. I'm going to start by taking the canister off. I'm going to begin back here with our mounting bolt. Brand new bike, so it's going to come apart fairly easy. Save all the fasteners. You're going to need to pull this trim panel here so that we can access the actual clamp for the canister, which is right here. 12mm once again. We're going to shed some weight on this because you're eliminating, right, obviously the heavy stock components, but the big culprit is that muffler box and that catalyst. Right? So we're going to definitely shed some weight, get a nice performance increase, and it's going to sound a whole heck of a lot better. That exhaust valve is located right here. What I'm going to do to open up here, get this rolling, is I'm going to get the cables unhooked from the valve. Okay, cables are unhooked from the valve pretty easily. We've got a stock O2 sensor. Go ahead and undo that. There's a couple of ways to do this right. Some people may argue that this is not the right way, but man, I've done it this way so many times when I used to work on cars. Just twist the harness up a little bit. It's not going to hurt it. The stuff is actually really robust. I was able to get that out without disassembling everything up here. We're going to have to chase that down right up here in this area when we service the whole exhaust servo to make that FI light go off too. And in the end as well, I would also like to pull off these cables. I should be able to do that. I haven't done the exhaust servo eliminator yet with the M4 previously, but I assume as I go through the instructions, I'll see that I'll be able to get these off. Okay, now we have the O2 sensor out, the cables are off. we're going to come up front here and loosen up the radiator mount. 10 millimeter brackets right here. This should allow us to move the radiator forward like so, right? You do have some stretch built into the hoses. You don't want to force it too much. Now we're going to use an Allen. I've got about a 12-inch extension using 3/8 drive ratchet here, and then we have a swivel joint in there. We've got a 6 millimeter Allen to undo our header bolts. Be careful around your radiator. You do not want to damage it, okay? We'll remove the header bolts all the way across, and then we'll work on the actual mounting points here so we can pull the muffler box off. Okay, we got all the header bolts. They are out. I already loosened up the mount on the other side, and we're going to go ahead now and loosen the mount on this side. Thread locker on these bolts for obvious reasons. As always, we're going to get you a weight on this system, as well as a weight on the new one, and give you an idea what the difference between the two would be. That is one of the great benefits of replacing an exhaust, is the weight loss. And there you have it. There it is. The full exhaust system, factory exhaust, headers, muffler box with the catalyst, and then of course the silencer. Okay, we went down and we hit the scales with both systems. The stock system was about 19 pounds. We got 10.5 pounds out of the M4 system, so we've got an 8.5 pound weight savings just by replacing the system alone. This system consists of stainless steel header mid-pipe, right, with the carbon canister. Okay, now we're going to install the spigots that come with the system. The way I designed this, the head pipes actually slide over this machined spigot. There is a gasket included. You're going to take all the stock gaskets out. We don't need those. They supply this O-ring that is pushed into a machined groove. We then use our flange. This flange actually hooks to the head pipe using springs. We need to do this for all 4 of our exhaust ports up here on the cylinder head. Slide it up into place. You really want to be careful with that gasket. You don't want to disturb that. And another thing, when you tighten these down, you want to make sure that you're applying good, even torque, and that you have an even space between the flange and the cylinder head for both bolts. You don't want one tightened down much more than the other. You want to try and really get a good, even pull on that. Space kind of limited in here, obviously. Tight space. Like everything else, you want to start it, just finger tight. With these spigots, you really want to work to maintain a good even pull and a nice even gap. We're going to install all 4 of these across the head. When we come back, we're going to show you the assembled header, talk about that a little bit, and begin fitting it in place. Okay, we've got all the spigots are all bolted up. Everything's good to go. What I use to tighten those down is actually, because of the very tight area we have to work in, I used a stubby 3/8 ratchet, right, with the Allen on top. You don't need a tremendous amount of torque on there, all right? And once again, really focused on getting a good even pull so the gap on each side of the flange between the cylinder head was nice and even. Took a couple minutes here and I slid the header pipes into the collector. You can see excellent craftsmanship here, welds on the system. They number all the pipes, so at the end of the day, this really isn't that difficult. They also supply some anti-seize that you wipe inside of each joint, any one of the slip joints, and this really helps get it together the first time, and then if you ever have to pull it apart to service it, this will ensure that it will come apart. All these joints are a very tight fit, okay, so using the anti-seize makes a huge, huge difference. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get in here and lubricate each one of these downpipes, because we need to slide these over the spigots that we just installed. This is, I would say, the toughest part of the job right here. Once you get past this, you are home free, okay? Be patient, take your time, and good things will happen. Get that lubed up nice. Before we start the bike, just as a side note, we are going to clean the pipes real well. I usually use a brake cleaner to do that. I'm burning the fingerprints on there. Okay, now we're going to put the springs on before we get the pipe in place. A couple of these you won't even be able to reach once it's installed, so you want to do this now. A couple of different ways to do this. I use a pair of side cutters here. They make specific tools to do this. I have said year after year that I'm going to get one. Probably sell 500 of them a year. I still don't have one. There are side cutters here. These work pretty well too. You can also use a pair of needle nose pliers. That works okay. Another side here. Spring, we're good to go. There we go. You can see that. All put together. And now for the fun part. Getting these bad boys slide over the spigots. One step that I did not show you that I definitely did perform was I made sure that each one of the pipes would slide into the spigot. Okay, I've got the radiator tied out of the way. Use some safety wire here. Pulled it against the wheel a little bit just to open up that gap, give me a little more room to work. I'm going to work from the clutch side over to the brake side. I'm going to try and get a little bit of each head pipe slid onto the spigot at a time. And work my way from one side of the motorcycle to the other. It's a delicate process, right? Because when you get one to slide on, it can begin to work against one that you already had up on there. So be patient. Okay. Put a little upward pressure on it and just kind of wiggle it. Other thing you can do, rubber mallet. Give it some taps. Okay, next, just to be completely transparent, it does not always go as easy as you just saw right there, okay? That was an example of not much fight. And typically, it is a lot harder than that. So we got the hard part out of the way. Now we need to get the springs fit up in here. These slid over the flange. There's a hole that is up on the flange itself. We need to get the spring to drop inside that hole. And then we'll use our spring puller here to attach the spring to the loop on the pipe. We're going to run down the head pipe and do this all the way. As you can imagine, some of these are a little tougher than others because the access is more restricted. Okay, but when we come back, we'll have all the springs on, and we're going to begin working back here with the mid pipe and the canister. All right, we've got this all modified now. We're going to go ahead and there's a little coat of anti-seize here in the mid pipe. It comes with an O2 sensor adapter. Installing this allows you to use the stock O2. If you're going to use like a DynoJet Auto-Tune or a Bazaz system, you're able to thread this out, right? And it'll accept that Auto-Tune sensor. They're a little bit bigger than the factory one. When you install this, right, you want to make sure that the mount goes inboard, okay? The bracket goes inboard of the mount, not on the outside. Slip that joint in all the way. You notice I loosened up that mount. Just going to make lining everything up a little bit easier. Lift this up here. Bolt pass through. And then we can begin fitting the canister, you know, kind of getting stuff in place here. Take just a little bit. Get the nut on the back side of that. I'll put a very thin coat of anti-seize inside the canister. Don't want to use a lot here, it'll get hot. Don't want to drip down a little bit, you don't want that. So just a really thin little coat. Slide that on until it's fully seated. Let's get ready with our mounting hardware. Give you kind of a dress-up washer, right? Makes it look cool. Carbon fiber canister mount. One thing I can see right now that we're going to need to do is this the spacer they supply, that is going to need to be installed from the other direction so it can't push through. So we're going to pull this out, slide this around like that, and now we're going to come at it again. Okay. And there's a shoulder on that, and what that's going to do is it's going to make sure obviously that it stays in place. Kind of get that started like so. Good spacing back here on the swing arm. You can see this really starts to bring everything together quite nicely. And now we're going to start snugging up all of our mounting points. Now we'll get our O2 sensor in there. And remember, before we start the bike, we're going to clean these pipes off really nice. There are tons of greasy fingerprints on this bad boy right now. Okay, O2 sensor. We may be able to thread this through here. There's enough. There is. Okay, now, remember how we wound this up? Well, we're going to wind it a a little bit in the opposite direction before we slide it in there. And there you go. O2 sensors in place. Get our springs on our canister as well as our mid pipe now. One more spring hanging out here somewhere for the mid pipe. We will get that one connected. I need to snug up our mount back here. There's our mid pipe spring. Flip the other side to do that. It's really coming together right now. Okay. Everything's held firmly in place. Good spacing here at the swing arm. Get our mid pipe spring on. Okay, now we're going to wipe the pipe down real nice. Before we start this, I want to go in there and I want to install this little arm that they supplied, and that is going to ensure that we don't end up with that FI light on. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take care of that EFI light before we even start the bike. To do that, we have to pull the rider seat and loosen up the fuel tank. Okay, we don't actually have to pull the tank all the way off the bike, but we do need to loosen it to gain some access. Gotta get these little trim panels here. Got like this really cool, it's like a Velcro style deal. Stuff really locks it down. Rider seat, we got two 5mm Allens. This is a project, you get involved in something like this, don't schedule, hey, we got a big ride and I'm gonna throw this on, it's gonna take me 20 minutes before we go, guys. Give yourself time, do it a few days in advance, make sure you got everything dialed before you go out. All right, got all the bolts out. These Suzukis normally come with a really cool rod to prop up the tank. Of course, I cannot find it, so I'm gonna improvise. Got a screwdriver here. It's pretty stable and solid. The exhaust servo motor that we're going after is right over here on the, it's bolted right to the frame rail, essentially, on the brake side of the motorcycle. I'm using a long quarter drive extension, 10mm socket with a universal joint on the end of it. It's going to give me access to this. Got two bolts that are holding this bad boy on. It's kind of cool that M4 does this. It makes it a complete package, right? You've got everything that you need to do this without having to purchase anything else. When we are done with a full system, we're going to want to look into block-off plates for the air injection system. And of course, some type of fuel controller, maybe a flash tune, something like that. But for now, we'll just finish our installation here and solve the issue with that FI light, because nobody wants to ride around with that. Okay, let me come over to the other side of the bike here. Let's see if we can't get this bad boy out of here. Okay, we'll find the electrical connector for it. Let's mix around in here. Okay, let's save that. And looks like we're right here. Unplug this bad boy. Cables will be coming out. Okay. Let's feed that through there. We should prop this thing out of here. Okay, and here is what we're after. Right here, what they've done is they've supplied us with an arm that is essentially going to bolt on right here. So, okay, we've got this out, we've got it exposed. What we're going to need to do now is unbolt this cam right here. I've got a 19mm wrench, got a 7mm socket. You need to hold that, okay? You can't just break the bolt loose without first holding that cam, okay? Because all it's going to do then is just spin the motor and the actuator. You don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and get that bad boy off, like so. And you can hear the cables down there clanking around. We're going to reuse this fastener, okay? Set everything out of the way for now. And the cables here have a retainer. Pop that out of the way, like so. Okay, kind of keep that all together. Here. Stock stuff is off. Here is that supplied mount, or I'm sorry, the bracket. Flip that bad boy on there, like so. And all that's going to do is essentially, it's just going to restrict the motion of the actuator the same way the valve would. So it makes the system think that everything's still there when it is actually not. Pretty simple stuff. Very intuitive solution. There you go. That is bolted in place. Now, we need to get these bad boys out of here. There's no need for those cables to be in there any longer. Set the actuator out of the way. Let's come over here and take a look at what we've got going on. See if we can find the easiest path. It may very well be easiest to slide them from top to bottom. We need to pull them out of this retainer. It's going to help us slide them through. Passing right by the radiator hose there, okay? Now we've eliminated the cable. We've got the servo motor thinking that the exhaust valve is still in place, okay? Very simple solution to that. Let's go ahead and slide this bad boy back in here, get it plugged in, bolt it up. We'll get our fuel tank buttoned up, and we're gonna be ready to start this thing and see what it sounds like. It's always the best part when you get the job done and you get to start it and hear that new exhaust for the very first time. Got the whole system on, I'm done with the arm. We got to put some trim back on it like that, right? I mean, we already showed you, in fast motion what it took to get that stuff off there. You're just reversing that process. Now for the important stuff, we got to hear this thing, right? And we've got no FI light on the dash, so we're good to go. You can see here too, they have their you know, foil sticker, their logo. It was half underneath that. That irritated me, so I took the band back off and I pulled the sticker, right? I just didn't like the way it looks, so I'll call the guys at M4 and have them send me another one to put in a different spot. System looks great, it sounds great. This is a project, remember that, okay? Give yourself adequate time to do it. If you have somebody else to help you out, especially when you're putting the head pipes up on those spigots, that is a real bonus too. This is our M4 full exhaust system install on our Team M4 SportBikeTrackGear.com Suzuki GSX-R600 project bike giveaway.